Hey, will the NRL taking games to Las Vegas help Rugby League in the USA? I think it can. The risk attached to the NRL going to Vegas is not every ticket's sold. They've already made $300 million US from the gambling sponsorship alone. So even before a match kicks off and a ball's kicked and a pass thrown and a tackle made, they've already made money. They're going to make a profit on this. I'm going to use the example of a European sports fan when the NFL came to London in 2007. NFL Europe had collapsed, and a lot of NFL fans were going, this is ridiculous. This is not going to work. Fast forward to 2023, they now have 4 games in Europe, 3 games in London, 1 game in Germany, either in Munich or Frankfurt, because they rotate it. And those dissenters have gone, what? Really? They're silent. The critics were there in the US media, in the European media, and in the NFL fan base going, this is not going to work. Where are they now? I think the same is being said in NRL circles, with the domestic fan base in Australia and New Zealand going, this is not going to work. Or, you've taken the wrong teams, you've got to take this team on. What about mine? Why is my team not going? So there are some fans angry that their team weren't selected to go play in the doubleheader game over in Vegas. I will say this. The NRL, I think they've chosen the right city. Vegas is the city of self-promotion. A Vegas promoter or a Vegas advertiser could sell sand back to Arabia. They could buy sand in Arabia, go, look, we have some sand. Honestly, they could sell ice cream to the city of Naples, where it comes from, and pizza. They could sell fish and chips to a lad in Grimsby. They could sell a 3-legged horse and promote it in the Kentucky Derby. I mean, this horse will finish last, but they can do it. Like, Vegas is the right location. They are loud, they are brash, they will buy into anything. And that's just the Vegas metropolitan area. What I'm saying is the wider US sports fandom. This is the key thing. The Super Bowl's been played. The NBA and NHL playoffs haven't even started at that point. Right time. It's going to work. I think this is the catalyst for long-term growth for rugby league in the US. The NRL has to be the driving force of growing the game globally. Super League has tried the Toronto Wolfpack and Ottawa races, and okay, it didn't work out in the end for a variety of reasons, including the pandemic. But the same argument was being had with the NFL going to London. It's not going to work. Fans aren't going to turn up. It's not going to make money. It's going to be a disaster. They now have an organised league playing in Europe. Bearing in mind, NFL Europe was a disaster. To be fair, this new organised league in Europe, predominantly in Germany, is doing all right. It's doing all right. And the fact that they've now expanded the global series to out from 1 game in London to 3 games in London, 1 game in Germany, 1 game in Mexico, and they've got a roadmap for taking games to South America, to Africa, to Asia, to Australia and New Zealand. The NFL has realised they've marketed themselves really well. They took the risk paid off. With no risk, there's no reward. Because the NRL is seen as, it doesn't market itself right, or they're going to Vegas. Vegas is the city of marketing and self-promotion. Honestly, Vegas has a way of promoting anything. There's a reason why the US major leagues are looking at Vegas for expansion and relocation. There's a reason why the UFC and boxing, and Bellator, the MMA promotions and boxing go to Vegas for the big fights. You've got that gambling industry, and we can argue the pros and cons of that, but you've also got a young age demographic for residents in the city of Vegas, disposable income, and it's more than just a gambling and tourism hotspot. It's a very diverse economy. They've got money to spend, and people from all over the US go to Vegas at least once. Even if it's just for a short holiday, they go there for what it is. It's a city of lights. It's called Sin City for a reason. People let their hair down. People want to. You will have people from the Midwest, very, very religious backgrounds, going to Vegas because their favourite country and western musician is playing a concert or part of their US tour in Vegas. They won't go to Memphis, they'll go to Vegas. There'll be people from country in Western country, which is Memphis, Tennessee, and they're going to Vegas to watch their favourite artist play a set, play a concert or a series of tour dates. You know, you will have, you know, sports teams do their pre-season training camp in Vegas because of the climate. You can get to altitude. The Rocky Mountains are just there. The Sierra Nevadas are just there. You can use it as a training base for heat training and altitude training. So athletes go to Vegas. International companies go to Vegas. Vegas is a city of self-promotion. The crime rate is a hell of a lot lower than, and the poverty rate is a hell of a lot lower than neighbouring LA, which is only 3-4 hours away by flight, I think. Could be wrong. Maybe driving. It's rapidly growing. People are moving out of California to Las Vegas, and there's disposable income. And you've also got that Pacific Island community on the western half of the US. And a lot of these Pacific Islander athletes, who may be second or third generation, Samoan for example, or Tongan, they're in NCAA programs for rugby union and American football. And you've got that community that lives and breathes rugby league, because they'll have a cousin in Tonga, they'll have a cousin in Australia, and they live and breathe it. They live and breathe it. This is like, to them, it's like football to the Brazilians, or soccer. It is part and parcel of, well, my dad and my cousin are over in Australia. I've come over here for education. They're massive Roosters fans, Rabbitohs fans, Sea Eels, Broncos, Cowboys. And then you've got the interlinked with US military personnel based in Australia who will watch games in Queensland. For example, Queensland, there's a massive US military presence in Queensland. You could be sat in a bar in Townsville. The Cowboys are playing an away game, so they're not playing at home. The game is on the TV. That is rugby league country. That is the only sport that's played. Other sports don't get played in Townsville, in northern Queensland. It's rugby league. It's rugby league. You'll have US service personnel over, based in Townsville. They'll be in a bar on leave, mingling with the locals, watching an NRL match involving the Cowboys. They'll be going to Queensland Country Bank Stadium to watch the Cowboys play. Then they go back to the US after their stint of 6 months in Australia. They go back to their home basing in the US, and they take the sport with them. They take the interest with them. So I think the fan base is already there, a small, committed fan base, and I think it's the potential to grow it is there. And I use the NFL with London 2007 as an example. The risks were there, they paid off. Look at the MLS, the risks were there in '96. It did struggle for a little bit, then David Beckham happens, and then Ibrahimovic happens a few years later. And look at the league now. Look at the league now, look at the expansion, the growth in the grassroots game in schools, like junior grade, middle school, high school, university now got NCAA programs, predominantly in the women's game, but they've got NCAA programs. Look at the grassroots, clubs in communities playing, what we would call Sunday pub football. They've got that in the US now with bunches of mates setting up a club, playing a rival club at amateur level. So fastest growing sport in the US, soccer. They've done it, and that was told that was going to be a failure. That was going to be a failure. That's not going to work. It's worked. Admittedly, it's had some wobbles on it. It's worked. So the US is going to be co-hosting its next World Cup. The US is bought into Rugby Union, going to be hosting both the men's and women's World Cup separately in the coming years. So it's worked. We have to look at it from this point of view. They even were meant to host the next Rugby League World Cup. Unfortunately, COVID and costing has hampered that, but they were still interested in hosting. So there's clearly interest there. It's about harnessing that interest into turning them from casuals to hardcores, and also getting that interest from a one-off to long-term roadmap. The NFL was the same. Biggest professional sports league in the US was heavily criticised for taking a game to London 2007. It worked. They went back. Made a long-term commitment to Europe. The NRL has made a commitment to Vegas. There has to be a long-term commitment, otherwise the teams won't sign up. The teams have signed up. They've just got it. If they use their social media correctly and the highlights reels correctly, anything's possible. If they sign the right TV deals, if they sign the right media partners and the right corporate partners, this can work. There's a lot of people, a lot of rugby league fans going, oh, my team isn't going, I'm disappointed, or it's not going to work. They're either complaining the wrong teams have been selected, or it's, I don't think this is going to work. They're not willing to take the risk because we've been burned before by taking the games at the wrong time or not utilising, marketing correctly. This is a league that got Tina Turner, the Simply the Best re-release, to advertise their sport, and it exploded. So occasionally they get their marketing right. The Athletic is starting to write more articles on Rugby League and the NRL. If the Athletic is getting interested, that will interest sports fans. So I think the opportunity is there. They just need to harness it correctly. And we shall see if it is the right way to grow Rugby League in the USA, or if Rugby League can ever grow in the USA. But we have to take the risk, otherwise we won't find out. No risk, no reward. And there are some big risks, and some risks backfire, some risk takers, it succeeds. Fortune favours the brave. There you go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.